Welcome back, Trailblazer fans. I'm your host, Maggie Allen. We're here with a weekly recap show. I'm here with Assistant Athletic Director Jeff Polari. Jeff, how are you?
Good, Maggie. How are you?
I'm good. Just got back from spring break. Now, you got to join the men's baseball team down in Florida for spring break. Let's talk about their highlight win over Olivet.
So, yeah, the baseball team got off to an exciting start. They lost a couple of close games in their opener to Oneonta State, only to come back the next day against Olivet in what was very exciting finishes in both games. MCLA actually rallied from 5 runs down in their final at-bat in both of those contests to sweep Olivet, which was really quite a sight to see. Brett Labonte had a game-winning RBI walk-off hit in that one in Game 1, and then Game 2 was more of a collaborative effort, but just great to see them get a couple early wins under their belt, something the team sorely needed after a tough season a year ago. A lot of new faces in a lot of new places, so it was just great to see them show some grit and get out of there with a few wins.
Right, and now a select player, Joe DeMassimo, had a great trip down in Florida. He did really well. Talk a little bit about what he did.
Yeah, Joe's one of those players. He's very versatile. He can play a ton of different positions. He's one that really stood out on the trip, highlighted by his first career home run and a win over Plattsburgh. That was his first career home run that he hit. A really a fantastic ballpark as well, Channel Lakes Ballpark, which has got a storied history. Used to be the home of the Cleveland Indians and Boston Red Sox back in the day. So to see him really step forward and put a drive into a ball like that was outstanding. He actually capped a real solid week with a game-winning hit against Central on the last day of the trip as well. So he had really quite a trip, batted close, well over 400, close to 500, led the team in RBIs, and certainly should be a force going forward.
Right, so I guess the baseball team saw a little bit of everything. Talk about other top performers that.
Yeah, so again, a lot of new faces, a lot of new places on the baseball team. You saw Brett Labonte, returner, had a very nice trip. A couple of newcomers, Shamal Forbes, Jonathan Parker, Joe Toledo, really did some great things. Austin Miller out of the bullpen. Bobby New had a couple of wins out of the bullpen as well. So pretty exciting time for a very young team trying to find its legs. The future's bright, and hopefully they can continue when they get back up north and continue playing well.
All right, well, while the baseball team was down in Florida enjoying the warm weather, the lacrosse team braced the storm blizzard that we had here in North Adams. They currently sit 2-2 on the season with wins over Green Mountain and Mount St. Vincent. Talk about that.
Yeah, so again, some early season, always going to play in some cold weather. The lacrosse team, no different. It's lacrosse in New England. They got off to a decent start, 2-2 through 4 games with the aforementioned wins over Green Mountain just this past week and earlier this season against Mount St. Vincent. It's been a little bit of a balanced attack. A lot of different players doing some things. Natalie Caney's been a strong performer early on. Kim Granito, who we'll talk about in just a few seconds, has really done some nice things. Mackenzie Cutler. So again, a lot of new players getting a lot of action. Chanel Inamoto, Beatrice Leckler, some new faces really getting some quality time in lacrosse as they gear up for MASCAC play. They're scheduled for a couple of games this week. We'll talk about that a little later as well.
Right, so you mentioned Kim Granito, who's a first-year lacrosse player here for MCLA. She was just named MASCAC Rookie of the Week. Talk about her performances.
Yeah, so it's just it's great to see new players get some early honors, get some confidence built up. Kim had a great week with a very solid performance against Green Mountain. She also had a pretty good game against Wentworth earlier over spring break week, which was a 17-16 setback for MCLA, but they played pretty well. So great to see those young players stepping forward. She's getting some opportunities. She's really taking advantage of that. So hopefully that continues. My guess is she'll be the focal point of some teams now that her name's out there a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how she continues to progress and bounce back.
All right, so she's not the only one on the board right now. So let's talk about other key contributors to these wins.
Yeah, I've already mentioned a few of them. Natalie Caney's been outstanding on offense. She had a 6-goal game earlier this season already. She's going to be one that'll be marked throughout the course of the season, I'm sure. Mackenzie Cutler has shown the ability to score, certainly of late. She's really come on the last 2 games. As I've mentioned, like I said, Kim Granito, Melly Enemoto, Beatrice Leckler on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you're still getting a lot of new faces and new places. Svetlana Morel, Brianna Morris, and we are returning Zoe Elwell, but Julia Coughlin's also been getting some time between the pipes as well. So it'll be interesting to see how their season continues to progress.
Right, so just yesterday our women's softball team returned back from Florida from their spring break. Talk about their spring break and their pre-spring spring training?
Yeah, the softball program got off to a rocky start for a number of reasons, and it really started with the blizzard that came through. They were scheduled to leave campus last Tuesday. Ultimately, the flight crippled the entire East Coast, canceled their flight. The team had to endure quite a bit just to get to Florida. They got in really late on Tuesday night and had to get up and play. They played a couple of really good games against UMass Boston and Western New England their very first day, a couple of one-run setbacks, which was probably the best they played. Ultimately, they struggled to an 0-10 mark. Hopefully, it's not indicative of what's to come. My guess is some fatigue set in later in the trip. And again, a lot of new faces for softball that they're going to be expecting a lot out of a lot of new players, and they shuffled quite a bit of people around.
All right, so out of those new faces that the softball team has, who are some key contributors for the softball team? Yeah,
I'll start with a few of the returners. They had some solid trips. Katie Bergala and Chelsea Coleman had very good trips for MCLA, both driving in some runs. Caitlin out of the leadoff spot. Chelsea kind of batted all around, but she led the team in RBIs. Those two are going to be probably the featured folks in the lineup year in and year out throughout the rest of their careers. A couple of newcomers, Erica Quackenbush has batted in the middle of the lineup, Morgan Watson in the middle of the lineup. Both of those also pitch, Morgan and Erica, so they'll be kind of in the circle quite a bit. Kara Adams got 5 starts while she was down there as well. Nevada Nelson, Ashley Wilson, a couple of new faces as well that Trailblazer fans can expect to see throughout the course of their season.
Right, and so stepping away from softball, our men's tennis team is opening this week with Becker on Sunday at Berkshire West in Pittsfield. Talk about the tennis team a little bit.
Yeah, so tennis gets a little bit of a later start. Obviously, weather plays a big factor in that, but they'll get their season underway with some high hopes. This Sunday at Berkshire West, they host Becker in a non-league matchup. MCLA returns pretty much their entire roster from a year ago, including Erin Goldsmith and Robbie Wobshanak, 2 all-NAC performers. As a reminder to our fans, our tennis program competes in the North Atlantic Conference in tennis, so they'll be seeing some programs that we perennially don't see in some of our other sports. But an exciting start to them. They were selected to finish 4th in their preseason poll. The top 4 in the NAC qualify for the postseason tournament. So I would fully expect the Trailblazers to be very competitive throughout the course of their season. Conference play opens 1 week from Saturday, so it's going to be good to see them get some confidence under them belt.
Yes, it should be very exciting tennis season. So basketball season may be over at our school, but a few of our players were mentioned in some postseason honors. Talk about those players.
Yeah, so the MASCAC every year puts out a sportsmanship team, which is a representative from each of their respective programs to be named to this team. MCLA was fortunate enough to have Tyler McKay of men's basketball and Emily Moulton of the women's basketball program named to their respective teams. It's going to be fantastic to see them get the recognition that they deserve. Also of note is Kayla Hoteling was selected to play in the NUBA All-Star Senior Classic. That game happens this Sunday down at Mount Holyoke. Kayla is the first Trailblazer since Lucy Tremblay in 2013 to be selected for such an event. So it's just going to be great to see her compete against some of the top seniors in the region. There's actually going to be 4 MASCAC familiar faces down there. Kayla joins Jenny Lindland, Jill Valley, and Alicia Ratcliffe from Framingham State down there as well. So great opportunity for her to showcase her skills as kind of a last hurrah in a Trailblazer uniform.
Right, and so finishing up, what do we have on task for this week?
Anytime you get the spring, you get some bad weather, and again, we're still feeling the effects of the blizzard from a week ago. We've already had a couple of postponements. Softball was supposed to open up tomorrow. That has been postponed. Basically what we have going on right now, baseball and softball are kind of in a holding pattern. You have lacrosse. Lacrosse is going to compete tomorrow at Sage. They're also at Dean College on Saturday. We got men's tennis opening up on Sunday, and then after that it really comes on a day-by-day basis. Softball is supposed to continue up again, I believe, on next Wednesday. Baseball is supposed to kick off again next Wednesday. All weather permitting, I would just encourage our fans to follow our social media sites and athletics.mcla.edu as well, just for constant updates, because they will be changing as we continue to move forward.
All right, and I think that's it for this week's weekly recap. I want to thank you, Jeff, for being here today.
Thank you, Maggie.
And like Jeff said, you can follow us all things athletics, and you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.